I legitimately thought that spring had come, but you're saying it's just a high-pressure system.
There's another winter storm.
Remember, there's always one more. There's always one more winter storm.
Oh. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mind Your Own Small Business podcast.
I think the fact that you just said there's always another storm coming is a great... The fact that you just said... Record! That there's a story recording.
No, you can see it this time.
I do.
That you just made the comment about that there's always another storm coming is a great
lead-in.
Lead-in to the topic today. But...
Yeah.
Go.
I'm pulling down your color. You're really orange right now.
I'm always very orange. My beard is...
your skin was orange.
Basically, camera Trump is what's going on here. Orange man.
Puerto Rico.
So, podcast.
China.
Better than a coffee break, cheaper than therapy. I'm going to remember that one day.
You remember it every week.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Guess what, guys? Episode 10. That's what we're on right now.
Hey, congratulations.
Wow,
We've
congratulations.
been doing this 10 weeks straight.
A decade.
On 10 times.
So we're halfway to being better than 90% of the podcasts out there.
Would you say we're living on a prayer?
Yeah. I think we are a little bit.
How dare you?
Well, every week it's something.
Days
He's out of town. You got to get a crown.
I'm a king.
Boy, that was poetic.
Oh,
He's out of town.
So-
he's got a crown.
you want to say it in a specific
White guy's
way.
rapping.
Next M&M's over here.
So, yes, it has been brought to me by my fans. I have fans now. I have legit fans.
I do too. They sit on my ceiling and keep me cool in the summertime.
I need to buy some fans.
Yeah.
If only you had fans.
That it was a recommendation that as business professionals, which I guess is what we can call ourselves, we should talk more to the people that are wanting to learn more about businesses than what they can get on the interweb. So the example that was brought to me was you should talk about what are the next steps in business, and when do you know when to let go of an idea when you have a product or something, and when do you know when to fold them?
So for me, this is actually a really interesting topic because the way that I conduct business on Etsy, it's 20 cents every 3 months when something's up. And so when something stops working, just because I'm still early on in building my shop, I never 100% abandon something. I just remove advertising for it and let it sit on the shelf. So if someone's scrolling, it's like, oh, hey, this guy doesn't just do XYZ. I can get this, I can get this. And so it conflates me. So I don't know if I ever completely abandon something.
Totally shelve it.
But I'll just shelf it.
Oh, right, but you used the word conflates. Is that a real word?
Easy Bush.
Yeah, it is.
Whoa, I'm
Conflates?
double down on that. I don't know about that.
Define. Okay, so
When did I use conflate?
you just said, and then it conflates. I don't know. Define conflate. Conflate means to combine into one. It's a third person present is conflates.
I read a lot.
Fault. You don't know how to read. That's why we're doing a podcast. So, just so I understand this, though, so we're talking about. You know what? I guess there's different levels because you mentioned a product, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to shelve it because you are a just-in-time manufacturer. You have your wood or whatever, and so.
I wish I
I have shelves of wood.
Hey, he has fans too. So. You take these, you're able to shelve those. Well, in our situation, we had a product that it wasn't that easy for us to say, hey, look, we just dumped $30,000 on this particular product, and now because of market forces or people just don't like our design or whatever, now we didn't market it the right way. Now we are stuck with something that's sitting and taking up, 200 cubic feet of warehouse space, trying to figure out what to do with it. So I think that's one thing is we can talk about the products part. I also think we should talk about the business idea apart? Like, what makes a rotten business idea, and when can you realize that the direction you're going is not the right direction to go, and what it looks like to move or pivot or abandon it altogether? I would, with abandoning it altogether being probably really what we should focus on, because I know people. I teach in a brick and mortar institution about entrepreneurship, and let me tell you how many ideas come to me that are the exact same, that are awful, and that these individuals just don't have the acumen and they don't have the knowledge to confligate the idea.
Yeah, that was the word.
But to pull these ideas off, and so sometimes it's like, okay, how do I respectfully say, hey, I understand this is where you want to go or you have a passion to go, but you either need to A, finish these steps first, or B, chase after a different opportunity, because another opportunity arises. And I think a good place to put that, or talk about that, is your keyboards.
Yeah.
Keyboards, knives, wallets, my video editing business, what else have I failed on?
See, and that's interesting though, because you mentioned, okay, keyboards, understandable. We when we talk about markets and things and where your expertise is, video editing is a strong suit of yours. And so you abandoned video editing, and you have to ask, why did you move away from it? Did you move away from it because it wasn't being profitable, because you weren't chasing enough clients? What were you doing that caused your castle to fall?
So that one was twofold. So clients are starting to dry up, and the other thing is that I wanted to live here. I wanted to live in Montana, Billings area.
As we talk about
there-
Kelly Canyon.
Yeah, Kelly Canyon's in Billings, Montana.
It's just outside.
Yeah.
Bozeman.
Kelly next to Cindy's Canyon.
All right. So, but with that is I just got married. We just found out my wife was pregnant, and she wanted a more stable 9 to 5. And so the reason why I gave up on that is, one, I didn't want to move to a market where it would be more profitable. Because jobs we were doing, because we would go to NAB, which is a big conference in Vegas, and we would talk to other people, and our jobs were averaging like anywhere from $500 to $2,000 depending on the job. And we were talking to other people who were like, we don't open the door for less than $10,000 a job. And so it's just what people are willing to pay in each market. And I wasn't willing to move to somewhere like San Francisco, New York, LA, somewhere where they're doing the same job would pay me 10 times as much, because I didn't want to move my future family there. And my wife's from this area, so I essentially gave up on entrepreneurship for a while and started trying to just work a more regular desk job. And then once I did that, I wanted to get back into small business, because I very much dislike what's it called? Like, just the way, how conflated and how many steps.
All right, now we're just showing off.
Yeah, that's the second time you said
how
conflated.
big.
I'm just teasing.
No, I got like 2-3 hours of sleep last night. So,
But conflated means to combine two things into one.
yeah.
Did you mean inflated?
Inflated also would work. So when you're really tired, one of the first things to go is your vocabulary.
How about objulated? Does that work too?
I don't know. I don't even know what that word is. Oh. It could be a word, but
Patrioteering.
Mastication means to chew.
I haven't even kissed a girl.
But with large businesses, you have an idea and you submit an idea to your manager, and unless your manager wants to do the work to put it to his manager, then that idea goes nowhere. Because we were right at the time where people are starting to hire people. So you give them the last 4 of your social, your account number, and a couple other things, and these businesses would call in, pretend to be you, in order to get their bill reduced or to get a partial refund a month. So they would just call in, and it's funny because like you could tell. Anyways, there were just a couple of different signs. I'm like, hey, this has been happening. Like, do you want to know about this? And they're like, no. Do they have the right information? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, then just treat them like any other customer. It's like, yeah, but I can. if you look, the last 6 months, they've called in about XYZ, but if you look at their service history, they're not experiencing the outages that they're saying. And they're just a bunch of like weird things. And I even looked it up. I'm like, look, these are services that exist. Like is this something that the company wants to address? But he's mid-level manager that is under a manager who's under a manager who's under a manager and doesn't. He's just worried about his department hitting the numbers that he hit by the end of the month. And so I felt trapped and hopeless and that nothing I did mattered. So I left that and went back into small business. And I love it. And I just went way off on a tangent about when Joe did stuff.
That was all over.
Anyways,
We'll rein you in a
Isn't that
little
my
bit.
job?
yes.
We'll rein you in. Don't worry.
You need to rein
Okay,
me in.
so you didn't want to do video because at the time, to do video and make good money with it, you had to move to Las Vegas and be...
Yeah, somewhere with a bigger market. And that was not something that I wanted to do. But so once I got into regular business, I wanted to get back into small business. And so I just kept on working on different angles. What I knew, what I learned from you guys, what I learned from around my own stuff so I could get back into it. And it took me 3-4 tries to do it. And eventually it took getting laid off to get back in it. And since that's happened, I've tried like 5 things until we found the thing that stuck. And all of those things, it's funny, they're still open and available. You can search it. You can buy most of them, except for the things that got taken down because of claims. But everything else is still up there.
podcast.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that you said there, if we're directing this at those of you who are like, I'm thinking about being a business person, mentors. I don't mean to toot our horns at all, but I had mentors. Actually, arguably, I didn't have as many as I wish I had. I wish I filled my space and my circles as I was starting everything out. But I was still attending college when I started what I was doing. And so, you mentioned, you asked us questions, right? And we became mentors to you. And then, even now where you have space here in the warehouse that you're like, well, what do I do? And how do I expand? And how do I grow? And how do I make good decisions? And I think surrounding yourself with those mentors, or at least having a handful in your pocket of people who are willing to be part of your rah-rah cheer team is vital, And I get this all the time where people say, oh, well, I don't know any good, successful business people. Okay, that's a load of crock. You do know business people. You just have to look through the network and be willing to go out on a limb to people that maybe you don't think immediately of. It's like, why do you do entrepreneurship? So I can eat out more. The end.
And so I the Whopper Wednesdays, the group 2.0. Coincidentally, we have never been back to Burger King since at least 2.0. We have.
I think we went once when I
I
was
used
taking
to
video,
track it, and I don't anymore because obviously more important things to do. But
Yeah.
There's only 7 restaurants in Billings, so
oh yeah. Let me look
opening
actually
more
and
every
see
day.
how many people are in the group.
53.
Okay.
oh wow, there you go.
It's 52 or 53.
So
I checked this today when I was looking to see what we were eating.
So there's 53 people that have come that I think we could consider either they run their own business or they have a part of a small business.
Or they have a side hustle and they're
Yeah.
working. They work in a not more corporate, but
Yeah. I don't know.
established.
I'd say I don't know if anybody in that group works in a corpo lifestyle.
Voorhees
think so.
would be the closest.
Closest, and I mean,
And it's
What
a small
about
it's a small company he
Brian,
works at.
he's
McKellar?
kind of, yeah, he kind of.
No,
Well-
he works for a small. I mean,
Yeah,
and,
he's-
and arguably he's his own. He is an entrepreneur because he
true.
grows as. I mean, he grows as much as he can grow himself. So
yeah, I originally created the group to be able to justify eating out and being able to put that in the 50% off meals section on my taxes. Which, by the way, for the last 2 years, this is the last year doing it. It's 100% this year. This is the last one. I don't know if you knew that. So.
Yeah, I every time I can, we're working through dinner at home.
Yeah.
company card. Please, company card.
Absolutely. No, get those. It's funny, as I'm doing my taxes right now, I do it through TurboTax. I do my own taxes. There's like this little clip at the bottom. It's like, your adjusted gross income just lowered by this. Get more deductions. And I feel like, run the risk of an audit. I don't know. But anyway, created the group, one, to go out to eat. I enjoy food. But then two, create the group to establish kind of for lack of a better term, a cheerleading source to where you could throw ideas out and have it be responded to by individuals of like-mindedness. I remember me and my wife were having a discussion with maybe higher voices. I wouldn't classify it as an argument, but some might.
Heated discussion.
Yeah, you could say that. And I brought up this idea that I wanted to do as for part of our business, and she was like, "No," and I was like, my justification to her was, everyone at Whopper Wins, they think this is a solid idea. I'm doing it. And it was actually the freeze drying, the fruit apple fries. She was, and maybe still is, who knows, love you, sweetie, vehemently against it. And I don't know where she stands now, but it was.
How much have you sold so far?
Let's see, how many have you eaten? I have to bill you later. I have not sold anything from my freeze dryer yet because it is an Arctic tundra here in Boise, and the farmers market doesn't start until May. So anyway,
We're in
but
Boise
no,
now.
that was Boise.
Why not?
And, yeah, but anyway, yeah, that was the point. That was the whole point of the group, was to establish a camaraderie of other business owners that were going through similar struggles, that would have insight into how to hire your first employee and what to look out for, and do you do W-2s or do you do 1099s, and what to establish there. I come from a background of HR. My wife has been professionally in HR for a long time, and so I have kind of officially, unofficially been that lead to or go-to source for HR-related questions of, can I say this in an interview? And most oftentimes the answer is absolutely not. Do not ever say that. but
You're looking at me.
But yeah, that was the whole purpose of it. That was the whole, and yeah, I guess if you wanted to butterfly affect it, like, that's the reason that we are here doing this podcast, is because of that group.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And then
I found you in that group.
version 1 or version 2?
Version 1.
Version 1, Thomas was part of the OG.
And then you moved out from working from that one company, moved to your other one, and then I pulled you out from. I remember it was behind. It's actually Gator Jacks.
It was.
And that was the first conversation where I said, "Hey, I know you're looking. I have some stuff that needs to get done. Will you come and we can try? It's just supplementary. It's nothing big."
Exactly.
And that little start began a process, which is now, partnership and the building that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And so
many
yeah,
things.
I would highly recommend that, even if you create some level of, even if it starts with a bunch of guys who really don't know what they're doing, but start something. Get a crew together.
Network.
And network. And there are official networking organizations. You can go to business professional meetings.
LinkedIn.
And
Facebook
and
pages.
find locally if there's a Rotary, not really Rotary Club, but local meetups of marketing professionals or whatever your industry is, and pushing that. But there's something about finding, even if you're like, well, why would I need to know a lawyer? And it's like, well,
You'll need one.
that lawyer has gone through a lot of things that you can sit there and just have them in your pocket. Don't be afraid to ask them out to lunch, even though you are poor and they're not.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're buying the cheapest thing on the menu and you're asking them to go out to lunch. Take them out to lunch and pull on those, especially if there was a neighbor that you knew growing up that you kept in touch with. I mentioned church organizations have great ways of pulling people together. Now you have a sounding board. Now you have people that and the guy that's been running his own HVAC company for 20 years, he knows how to make sure that you don't lose all your money because he's been running an HVAC company.
He's had to be licensed. He's had to be bonded. All those things.
He's had to pay employees. He's had to make sure that there's food on the table for his
taxes.
Wait,
But my accountant, I got my accountant through, like, he used to be one of y'all's accountants.
Probably Thomas.
And then they told the guy that I worked for to check this guy out. And then it was the first year I was working as a 1099 employee.
Oh,
I
yeah.
went to file my taxes.
You owed.
And I owed like $3,000. And I was like, I can't pay this. And so I talked to the guy I was working with. He's like, hey, go talk to my guy. And it cost me like $600 to file it, but I paid like $2,000 less. And just because they knew where to put things in the filing so that it worked, I couldn't figure
there
out
it
the
is.
word.
Found it.
Looking for the word. And,
the fling, the conjugation.
The conjugation.
The conjugate.
But yeah, and I spent a little more on filing, but I saved so much more than I would have if I did it myself. And that was one that relationship was started because of connections network that I built up that extended beyond me because no man is an island. So, but okay, bringing it back to the.
I just have to tell you, you said it's 3,000. The first time I used an accountant, got a $9,000 return.
Same. That's so weird. That's exactly the amount I got.
Oh my gosh.
From a different firm, though.
Oh, okay. Different. It's like,
they pulled them.
You get $9,000, you get $9,000, and now we got you hooked forever.
Coincidentally, though, the next year, things were filed wrong, and I owed $6,000. So, I left that firm, and I went to a different firm, and then I do it myself.
No, man, yeah, that's.
So we've gone a lot down this one, but so we're talking about ideas if we're coming back.
Well, I would say that group is what, once you build up that relationship, then you value the feedback that you get there.
Agreed.
They are the ones that are going to be able to tell you that harsh truth of, hey, I love you, man, but you got to stop selling glass on the internet. It's just not working.
Okay, but I have to say, one thing that I thought was hilarious is when I was doing my thing and it started taking off for like 3 months, you're like, you're making money? Like, I'm super impressed. Don't take this the wrong way.
I have always wanted to be careful with that. I've never wanted to be patronizing with that.
And I understand that it's not, but it means that you don't understand how. And then my favorite was the conversation we had yesterday. What's your cost to per customer?
Shut up. Tell him. Okay. I want to go on the record as saying this blew my mind. I would love to hear your reaction to this. Go ahead.
Monthly advertising budget for the month of, we'll say February, where I pulled in $8,000.
Okay, I was gonna write it down so it's more anonymous, but go ahead.
No, it's okay. I don't care. What do you think my advertising budget? $8,000 in sales.
It's stupid.
Well, the fact that everyone's saying, "Oh, it's crazy," then it was probably 37 cents.
Okay.
$20 for the month.
Okay, that's an under 1%.
$20 freaking dollars.
Yep.
So
acquisition.
It's stupid.
Most of it is organic. Though. Most of it is organic.
The funny thing about me though is like I harbor no resentment and I harbor no guile, no even like FOMO that you're doing it. Why can't I do that? That has never sat with me. That's just something and
I've never got that from you.
No,
either.
I've never done that. I am nothing but like praise Jesus. Thank you for doing that because I think starting a business and being successful in a year, being successful meaning that you are able to live off of the income that's coming in from this shop is incredibly rare. Would you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. There's definitely, and you know, it's funny because like I envy the numbers. Mm-hmm. I don't envy what you're doing. I don't know if that makes sense. Like for me to sit there and come up with designs and run a laser cutter and all these other pieces at this point in my life, I go, all right, like I have other big wild dreams that cost a lot more to get started than that, but that's where, my brain goes, as it goes, okay, well, you're doing something that I don't really want to be pushing. Now, we share ownership on the laser cutter. We will probably get more into that. And I like making funny signs with a ninja that says silent but deadly. Like, that's great. But this whole
You're welcome, Mom.
but there's a whole idea of so the cost of acquisition is super, super low. In fact, I think we should let's put that one. I'd love to talk about customer
Cost of
acquisition.
acquisition? Yeah.
And
I'd love to talk about it too.
and
'Cause
trying
I
to find
don't
them.
understand anything.
Yeah, clearly not. If you're spending $20, good.
Which leads me to another thing that I would think is a good nugget of knowledge from the what we're talking about today, and that is, yes, it's good to get information and get feedback from people, but ultimately, I have a hard time telling anybody that their idea is stupid. Like, I really do, because I lost in a graduate program. I am a businessman who has opened multiple brands, multiple avenues, and I lost to some kid at a business competition with no previous business experience, but all the investors at the table thought it was a really good idea to run a training program for League of Nations. Is that what it's called?
I
Or
think
League
so.
of
It was a video game. It's
Yeah,
an
it was a-
online RPG.
You're talking about League of Legends?
League of Legends.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wanted to do an online professional training program for League of Legends by taking people who were that were paid Twitch streamers and hiring them to teach other people how to be better in League of Legends.
The thing is that is brilliant, because you're dealing with starry-eyed young people with too much money who are willing to throw it away. And
Right. And so in my mind, I'm production, right? I'm looking at that going, I have more experience than this chump.
Yeah.
Okay. I know how to make things. Why in the world does he end up making? Now, he did nothing with it. He took the money and then the whole thing fell apart because, quite frankly, he couldn't use League of Legends in any of his materials because it was trademarked.
Trademark.
But I lost.
that's interesting. Can you just run it as a non-generic esports training camp?
But then again, like, that even says, like, the competition should have been broken up because it was completely subjective, right?
Oh,
Like,
super subjective to the judges that were there.
exactly. The judges were looking for something that was like low investment, quick payout. And with this League of Legends thing, you're looking at subscriptions, which everybody loves,
Everybody wants.
versus your model, which is tried and true and proven, but does require a little more elbow grease.
Upfront capital.
And it's less glamorous, to be totally honest.
Very
It
is.
is.
And again, so I think it should have been separated into those that we want to give a award and orange slices to, and those that are actually going to do it.
And one thing I was going back to how this is something you want to do. The thing that me and my wife are most excited about is at the end of this season, we want to get back into product development, because that's where we have fun. Is we have an idea,
Oh, yeah. It's
we
so much
design
fun.
it, we make it, and then we
love
put it out there. And
I think going along with that, sorry to interrupt, entrepreneurism is like being a shark. You have to keep moving, otherwise you die.
Yeah.
Stagnation is a death sentence in entrepreneurialism.
and at some point,
It
the products
says me,
that are
tie over my
selling,
shoulder.
yeah, that's a phrase that not a lot of people are going to understand.
Also true.
We know that for every 10 products that we make, we'll have about 3 to 5 that do nothing. We'll have roughly 3 to 4 that will sell 1 or 2 a month, and then we'll have 1 product that actually will turn a large product. So we have to figure out those.
Profit. That's fine.
Yeah. What did I say?
Your sleepy time.
Yeah, I need to sleep. So yeah, we have 10 products where most of them don't do anything. 1 will probably make money regularly. Some will make a little bit of money each month, and then most of them won't do anything. And so we have to make those 10 products to find the 9 that won't work, so we can find the 1 that will.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Ooh, is that hard work or luck?
Yes. Yeah, we've rolled the die. You need to be careful with those hand motions.
Most people are listening anyway. They have no idea what hand motion I just
True,
made.
that's true. But yeah, so that's the thing.
Is dice or a shake weight?
But going back to, I'm trying to think for me, at what point would I have given up on Etsy? Like, when would I need to have abandoned the idea or the concept?
We'll look back at knives, wallets, and keyboards. When did you abandon those? What caused you to abandon those ideas?
So basically, it was operating cost, monthly budget, and I saw like the intersect when they hit zero. And when that started getting closer and closer, that's when I would back off of one and then change what I was selling so that those two lines never intersected. Funny thing, I do that all in my head, but like I don't look at spreadsheets and whatnot. I just look at my bank budget and I look at what we're making each month, and I can keep the totals, and then you do the math, and
What?
yeah.
You do all of that projection mental math?
I can
Mental.
I can tell you my rough
The fresh maker.
bank account budgets for all in my head right now.
Well, yeah, that's
And then
fine.
every time you spend money, you subtract that.
It's his heart that has a problem, not his brain.
Yeah. Something has a problem there. But yeah, so I follow that, and then as soon as it gets, when I notice a downward trend that looks bad, when I started this, I knew what I had in my bank account. I knew how much credit I had available. I took out an additional business line of credit to start it, and I knew that I had 6 to 8 months where I could make zero. And then if I didn't start making money in that amount of time, that I would have to, at that point, give up everything and just start looking for another desk job. And then we found the farmer's market. And then that made it from 6 months to about a year. And then we eventually found things where now the time where I run out of money and how much money I have is at the moment won't ever intersect, which is an amazing feeling. But we'll see how that is after April. But I think last time we had a yearly increase in sales of 5,286 is what Etsy was telling me. But the problem is that's not sustainable because the numbers are just insane off because we went
you don't have enough data. Yeah.
yeah. So next year, I think it will give us a much more realistic expectation of what our company growth is.
So I'll throw out an example. I have 3 products that I currently sell that I can acquire from China. One is a knee scooter for when you bust your foot or your ankle and you need to be on one of those knee scooters. It is the Australian sheepskin cover for that. The second is a USB drive, an 8 gigabyte USB drive that also functions as a voice recorder. And then the third thing is a plastic covering for an extension cord cover. Okay. The extension cord cover moves great volumes in the wintertime when people are using extension cords when maybe they shouldn't be, or in places they shouldn't be. The USBs and the knee scooters or the knee covers, no real like seasonality of them. The entry cost of the USBs and the knee covers is pretty low for the quantity that I need to get in, as well as the cost for the safety seals. Would you abandon buying more of the knee scooters and the USBs to then buy more of the safety seals, is what those are called, the extension cord covers, or would you continue to operate those 3, knowing that?
So the knee cover, that one's not seasonality, you said?
No, there's no real seasonality, like ebbs and flows. It's just pretty, like, I sell maybe 1 or 2 a week.
But you sell a lot of the safety seals, but only in winter time.
In the wintertime, I sell quite a few of them.
But see, the thing is that I think having the 2 different, because that's what we're trying to work towards, is because we have 2 or 3 really good seasonality products, but we want to have a couple of baseline products that just sell regularly that cover our essentials. So that way, when we hit our busy seasons, then we're just
If you're about to say all I need is $3,000 a month, I will reach over this table and I will choke you out.
No, I already have that.
Yikes.
But so I think having
By the throat.
the three that work together is a great model. Now, I'm trying to think, at what point would you stop selling one of those three products?
At this point,
You don't know if you ever would?
yeah, it's like $1,000 to get more USBs, to get almost like 6 months worth of USBs, $1,000 to get almost 6 months worth of knee covers, and then the extension cord covers. It's a little more because of the volume that needs to cover. It's more about $6,000 to cover a year's worth.
And then what is how long does it usually take to pay off your initial investment?
With the safety seal, I keep calling them the safety seals or the extension cord covers. I could pay it off in selling a third of the inventory. Mm-hmm. So like a month.
In a month, and then with the USBs.
The other ones, they're a little longer. They are, they're like 10 weeks.
10 weeks, so 2.5 months. But you are paying them off consistently every 2.5 months. So that means that in about 2.5 months you pay off everything. You said you got about 6 months. So that means that the remaining 3.5 months, everything you make is profit.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like watching this work. It's like watching a virtual Excel.
no, I
Like highlight all, Command T, make it a table.
that's
sort
fun.
it.
I know, like with the number you gave me, I can give a rough estimate of what you're making off of that.
Okay.
And then what is your how much do you lose in transaction fees?
Oh gosh, I do it on Amazon. So, and it's fulfilled by merchant. I don't send them into Amazon. The safety seals I do because of the volume. The safety seals fee is 30%,
Okay.
and then the knee covers is 15%, and the USBs is 8%.
8%. That's actually really. That's
Electronics on Amazon is
nice. So you said the safety seals was 30%?
yeah, probably.
Huh.
It's
They're the
FBA.
ones you make the least amount of money on those.
But I have the most volume.
You have the most volume. That is interesting.
See, so my thought on this, and I have a belief, and what I believe is the right way to do it. I'm currently questioning whether or not that is the correct belief because, as I look at, I really like diversification. I think that it is more important to have multiple streams that exist. Primarily, we have two sandals right now that are, one of them we still have in stock. It's great. It's doing really well. The other one, we had a massive supply chain hiccup.
Yeah.
And we're trying to decide if we're going to pay the new price tag of what it costs to bring them in, or what are we doing with this particular item. And it's a big derailment. I mean,
Yeah,
we're talking like
is.
number 2 or number 3 on volume, this particular item. And it's a huge problem. Now, luckily we have other diversification, revenue streams that we're doing on other models, et cetera. But if we had and it was like this is one of our first sandals we ever brought in. Okay. So if we were like, no, we're good on this gravy train, and we ride that gravy train until the tracks run out and we just fall off the edge.
Yeah.
So luckily we thought of something else. On the flip side, we diversified one of our sandal lines into what we thought was a safe, organic growth in a direction for a sandal that we thought was going to do really, really well. Excellent quality, fantastic price point.
Yeah.
Good design. At least I thought it was good design. And it didn't go anywhere.
No.
It didn't. So now, instead of it being that we just had one primary line that ran off the tracks, it's that we had a lot of lines, but this one ended up being this $70,000 mistake. And so you're going, okay, well, shoot, that's a that's a big percentage of our overall, of the business. It's not detrimental. I mean, we're still alive, but we had to liquidate a whole bunch of that last year just to basically make up space and cash.
Yeah.
And if I had never done that level of diversification, then I wouldn't be in this position. And quite frankly, I don't know how much of it was. What did they? I don't know what happened. And the case study, is yet to be done. Was it a problem with they showed up late?
Oh yeah,
Right? They should have showed up in March. They showed up in June. New lines for sandals don't show up in June.
That's true.
And then by the following year, they were basically out of. We had missed
Was
that.
the following year COVID?
No, we bought them we bought them in 2020, the end of 2020, because we wanted a safe bet,
So
a
you
safe
got them
diversification.
before they shut down all the factories?
They,
Or do you get them after they shut down the factory?
I don't remember. I know that what caused it to be late was we placed the order in November. They were supposed to be in our hands by March, April at the latest. But because of shipping delays, that was the cusp of shipping delay stuff. We didn't see that show up till the end of June.
That's right.
And so that caused that issue. So then the next year, 2022, we were like, well, great, this will be the year for them. And they had kind of lost steam. We didn't get that newness on Amazon. We didn't get that, and so next thing we know, we're sitting with all this inventory, and then the end of the year's coming, and we're going, okay, we need to put more cash in the bank. And so that was the item that ended up getting the cut. And I personally think a large part of it, my personal I don't have any proof really other than my gut. That is, we did not have the right advertising campaigns and the right advertising setup to get it in front of the right eyes.
I agree.
And then the second piece of that was I think we looked to the wrong market for it. We had a certain price tag that we were expecting to get out of it. That price tag wasn't going to be paid, and we didn't have the brand equity to get the price tag out of it, nor the following. And bringing that price all the way down to, where someone just buys it because of price wasn't what I wanted to do, because that's not what I built the sandal for.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't a budget economy sandal. This was a solid, mid-level, great middle-of-the-road sandal with some great classic designs, and it just didn't.
That was one of my biggest issues when I was wholesaling, was that I had in my brain price tags I wanted to put on stuff. And I especially talking to you, like, no, you can't sell it for that much because someone will think there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
And so, that was a big mindset I had to change. I still have that problem with a lot of the woodcut stuff. And I was thinking about this the other day, is that a lot of entrepreneurship is buying something, adding value to it, and then reselling it.
100%.
And however you're adding that
100%.
value to it can be, you're taking it from somewhere where it's less expensive, selling it in a market where it's more expensive. That's how that works. Or taking a raw material and turning it into a product or whatever that is. You got to find how you're adding that value. And if you find that either the value you're adding isn't wanted or you can't find the market for it, that's when you have to. I don't know. It's so funny. And I remember talking to you guys a lot of the time where it's like, hey, what do you guys think about XYZ? And you're like, I have no knowledge in this market, so go for it. And it's fun. It's scary, but it's fun. But oh man, that's so hard.
But diversification, that's still where my train of thought is. You were able, the fact that you're able to create 10 designs and only one takes off and it doesn't sink you, just shows how well your business model is in a just-in-time situation.
I'll agree.
Now, it means that if all of a sudden tomorrow you had 300 orders because some TikToker talked about your tomb, and
That's
you had
happened before.
and you have 200 orders that come in at that point, that all need to be to the consumer and processed before Easter, you'd be like, I don't have that ability to do so, right? Now, the difference between that and me is if someone came to me, and as long as it's something that we'll store, let's say 5,000 units down there, and they say, hey, I need some of these, then great. We can, some TikToker goes out and just depletes our whole inventory of something. Okay, that we've reached that point. But the fact that you can create 10 items and only one or two will be successful because you're not building 1,000 of each of those and stocking them in a warehouse and then have to liquidate them later. It's an incredible business. I mean, really, really solid business model as far as you're concerned.
That's why we want to get out of craft fairs and farmers markets, because when you do those, you have to have all the product pre-made. And so you have to guess which products in our inventory are going to sell and which ones won't. And then at the end of the season, you have containers of made material that may or may not sell. And so when it does sell on Etsy, we'll go down and pull from the tub. But it's kind of, it's a lot of work that just sits there, and I have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why
I do too. I got a whole bunch of stuff in the tub. We're sitting on top of the tub is what we're sitting on.
Same. I have safety seals in different colors for days.
they just don't go anywhere.
No, I don't sell them at a frequent enough pace.
And that goes back to, like, we were talking about launching new dice colors.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a new can of spray paint. It's an extra $5 or $8 or whatever a can of spray paint costs
Spray
now.
paint the safety seals. Spray paint them green.
And so for me, like, adding colors is not like the biggest thing is messing with the listing and doing that, but everything else it doesn't change the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
A new color for us is, that's a what, $5,000 to $15,000 investment on a low end.
Yeah, it just depends.
$50,000 investment if it's an established line.
And we actually had someone while we were selling who was like, "Hey, can I get a purple one?" They bought the blue one. Like, if you can, that's fine. And I'm like, why not? And so I just did that. And so we made a one-off purple dice because our margins are big enough that I can eat the can of spray paint. And then I still have that so that we can launch one later on.
What if you stole the can of spray paint?
Yeah, then it's an even smaller cost to add the color to my line.
What if they don't let you buy it because you look like you're under 18?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's becoming less and less of a problem.
I feel like but in that case, that kind of a custom, you say, well, it's a $10 upcharge. Mm-hmm. And
we were thinking about
That's funny. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, is do a custom color and just it's
been with you
$20.
for a while.
$20 call it $20. You make 4X on that can of spray paint.
Okay, I find it hilarious because so you guys have a certain outlook of selling stuff. I have a certain outlook that is closer to yours, and then my wife has one.
And Microsoft has Outlook as well.
Yeah, they do. And so talking to you guys, I'm like, you should charge more. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll begrudgingly up my price just a little bit. And then my wife's like, we can't do that. And I'm like, the guys at Whopper Wednesday are like, we need to up it $50, and I'm only upping it $20. She's like, yeah, but I feel like we're stealing from the customer. And I'm like, how? Like, we've made a contract. Like, this is how much the item costs. If you want it, pay us this much. And if they agree to that contract, you're not stealing from them.
Both people are happy with their goods and services.
I want to make this statement, okay? Mm-hmm. Because I know as I can see this little ticker, we're getting close to the end of time.
Yes,
Yeah, about 7 minutes.
The rapture's coming. The rapture.
So, with what you just said, I would like to say that our next episode, to leave it as like a little bit of a cliffhanger, would be based off of what you said. Is it unethical to sell something that you buy for $2 at a 10x or greater amount? Tune in next time.
If it actually is next time, because I never know exactly what order these are.
It doesn't matter.
Well, and then there's also the fact that if Voorhees comes back, we also have an episode in the...
Tell Voorhees he can wait.
This one's more important.
Also, I guess you could place...
Yeah,
you could place this one out.
I am changing. So the 9th episode that we shot is going to be the 8th one released, and then 8 is going to move up to 9.
But anyway, that would be my thing is based off of what your wife said about upcharging and what we have said about it, placing that as the next topic of where do you draw the line as Too much.
Where do you drive the ethical line?
Yeah.
Because as far as, I won't, I'm just going to say this part of it, but it doesn't have to do that necessarily, but where you were
Do you gotta
talking
say
about.
spoiler alert?
No.
Okay.
It's like, so I do MC work, right? I run microphones for events and different things. That's a DJ. And there's another gentleman that I met that charges about 4 times what I would charge. And one folks could say, one folks could say,
they just didn't the pudding. Surprise.
that you could
why not?
charge, they're like, well, you're not charging enough. It's like, well, I don't have, at what I'm charging, I don't have enough gigs at what I'm charging, right? He got to the point where he was giving up so many of his nights that he said, I have to charge more because I can't be doing this and running my body and doing this thing at this price tag. So same thing where you're at. If you all of a sudden got to the point where you were getting 4, 5, 6 dices a day and you're like, I can't continue to do this and get this many dice every single day and continue to function, one way to turn that lever is by raising your price and saying, I now have 2, 3 years of experience in this, therefore I am worth more at my current state. And that's okay. We have sandals that people, that are in certain price brackets, and they're higher price brackets. And people say, well, why are you charging so much more for this one versus that one? It says, well, this one has a lot more design. It's got more features. Like we're charging more because we understand, and the customer understands what it is that they're buying. Unless one customer on like the top rated item we've ever had is like, this feels like I'm walking on cardboard. I hate it. And I'm like, you mean the sandal that has fixed people's foot pain? Yeah, that was interesting. For the last, 5 years, 3 years that we released this thing, like I'm sorry it's not working for you, but you don't have to sit there and yell at me that it's like
That's
walking on
also another thing.
cardboard.
I'm positive that's a competitor's. A competitor got on, bought it, and wanted to tank it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you want to tinfoil
Except
that?
that was an internal eBay. That was
was
not.
it?
Yeah, that wasn't like a
My
Amazon.
favorite, my wife is starting to change the way she approaches customer interactions,
Nah.
which is fun because like I've always had this more like make it professional, don't make exceptions, like to an extent, like make sure the customer's happy. But if the
Professional,
customer
have an AI do it.
have an AI do it, well, you tell the AI what to say. But there's an extent where you don't know if the person approaching you is approaching you in bad faith or not. So you have to approach it in a neutral sense and try to weed out a bad faith actor versus one that's not.
which is a very corporate in your previous job kind of way of looking at it for sure.
and she's not used to that. And as we've done this for a year, like we got one where someone bought a large one and a small one of our main item, our Easter item. And then they got both of them. They're like, the large one's fantastic, but the small one has XYZ wrong with it. And it was great because we didn't have to discuss it. My wife was like, okay, I want to do XYZ. I'm like, that's exactly what I would do. And we've got to the point now where we kind of know what we're going to do. And we used to be like, okay, yeah, we'll print you off a shipping label. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll do that. And every time it was kind of like button heads with my wife. It's like, no, like this is what it says. This is what we do. If they want to do that, they should have read more before they got into it. And she's getting to the point now where because her time's more valuable, she's not as willing to bend over backwards for customers, especially ones that already leave you the bad review. And like if they already left you the bad review, like they can amend it, but we found that rarely ever
98%
happens.
of
yeah,
the time
that-
they don't.
And so
No, they
if
do
they've
not.
already left the review and they're like XYZ, it's like, okay, like what are you going to do for us? Like you can't you're probably not going to undo what you did. And so you still have to be like professional.
Yeah, cordial.
I have a whole tinfoil hat about that I'd love to get into because I'm not obviously
in
now
the last
'cause
1 minute?
I have to pee, but I don't want to.
Yeah. So final conclusions, abandon lines or
Get a support staff. Get a support staff around you of not even like-minded. I would say get a support staff of people that are in a similar business. Not even that. Get a support staff of other business professionals around you.
People with different perspectives.
Yeah, and lean on them. That's what I would take.
So the main thing of when to do it is network, build a group that you trust, and take their advice,
Or take their information and
run with it how you will.
give them correct principles and let them govern themselves.
Man, that's amazing that you came up with that on the spot.
It's unbelievable. I would say my final word on that is look at numbers, hedge your bets, and don't be, and I'm saying this as a hypocrite, don't be afraid to cut loose lines when you're seeing that something else is doing well. If you have 7 ships that are fishing out in the ocean, and 2 of those ships are just not pulling anything up, but the other 5 are doing really well, you would be smart to move that ship over into more, into different waters. Now, it could be that what if by the time I move my ship, they're not biting anymore? Look, either whatever you want to think about it, if you're trying to allocate your funds, if you are not getting bites on something, be okay with cutting it. It doesn't matter if you are, but I love this design. Great. I have a design I love. It's the sandal that I wear at home all the time. I saved enough for me to last for a couple of years. No one bought them. And we had quality control issues with it, and we don't carry it anymore. And that's sad to me. But c'est la vie, right? I had to let go of it because the customers didn't like it. So cut loose, look at the numbers, cut loose, and diversify sufficiently so that if one of your fishing boats goes under, that's not your only fishing boat.
That's good.
Even fish.
And then mine would kind of be, it reminds me when my dad was teaching me to drive, he said, don't look at the road right in front of your hood. Look at the road a block down the street so you can see what's ahead of you. If you are just worried about what's right in front of you, if you're not paying attention to trends in your business, and there's a trend that you can see coming a mile away, but you're too busy looking at the current sales, that you end up running into a brick wall because it's a 90-degree turn. Like, you need to have that perspective and don't get caught up so much in the now that you work yourself into a corner later on. And that one's hard because you're dealing with so many prediction models. Like, you don't know if what you're guessing, right? Going back to what you're saying about moving the fishing boats, maybe the fish that were at the 5 are going to be so overfished that they leave and go to where the 2 are, that by the time they get there, there's no other fish.
Or maybe your bait is for tuna when there's mackerel.
Yeah, and so you gotta. So it brings back to we were saying about what the process is. Just gather as much information.
Data's king.
Data's king. Pay attention to it.
Data's lieutenant, but
And burger is the king.
Yes. Whopper
Wednesday.
Full circle.
I will. You're talking about the car analogy. I love what you just said there.
yeah.
I will.
Should have led with
mine
that
now.
at the beginning.
That is yours.
Brian.
I will add, though, the other thing you don't want to look at while you're driving is in the rearview mirror. You double check, but if you spend your whole time looking at the rearview mirror, you'll still hit that 90-degree turn. So if you're looking directly in front of you or as far back as you want behind you, the challenges come further ahead. But a lot of times I feel like rearview mirrors are there so that you can check and see what you just passed, but you have to keep looking forward. And
That's wise.
it's tough, especially in a changing environment. So you can't just always embrace what was because there's other stuff that's coming unless you want to stop the car and get out. And if you're stopping the car and get out, like what you said, that's stagnation. And stagnation in entrepreneurship it's a death sentence. So
It's very dangerous.
anyway,
Yeah. So that's it for this episode.
thanks, folks.
Check us out. Videos on Rumble and YouTube. Audio's essentially everywhere podcasts are available for audio podcasts. Episodes come out Wednesday. Like, follow, comment, subscribe. Leave some comments. We're having fun with that. So, because this whole topic came from a comment that was left with Anthony. So if you want us to talk about what you want, leave a comment.
Or just tell us your favorite ice cream because I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of ice cream.
I love ice cream too.
I know. I can do that. I know.
Oh, really? That's
But
yes.
only the uncomfortable for others kind.
all right. Well, hey, thank you so much for watching.
Take care.
Hey, Thomas, I would say